Global happenings today. We communicate, we analyze global news. Stay tuned.
Right now, the Northern Elders, eminent Northerners, have reached out to Bola Ahmed Tinubu to do this fast, as they want him to reject the bids coming from United States and France in particular. And this is getting very interesting, as the region right now is in the focal center of this whole drama. But before we go into the newspaper to find out what it is and why Nigerians are also interested in this matter, because of course it affects all Nigerians living in Nigeria and in diaspora, I'd like you to subscribe to our channel. Click on the red subscribe button. Beside it, you see a bell notification icon. Please click on it also as well. My colleagues in the house are going to go through this because it affects all through the news, where some eminent northern leaders caution against allowing the United States and French government to relocate their military bases from Sahel to Nigeria. Now, in an open letter to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the leadership of the National Assembly, leaders said that the federal government should not succumb to such pressure. Now, this letter was duly signed by the likes of Professor Atahiru Muhammad Ujiga, was one time INEC chairman, of course, Professor Jibril Ibrahim from CDD Abuja, and a whole lot of them, quite a number of professors who signed this letter. And according to the letter, the American and the French government have allegedly been aggressively lobbying Nigeria, along with other Gulf of Guinea countries, to sign new defense pact that would allow them to redeploy their troops expelled from Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Now, the signatories expressed concern that Nigeria, being the most strategically located among the Gulf of Guinea countries, may succumb to this pressure, thereby jeopardizing its defense and internal security. And the recent expulsion of French and American troops from Niger due to their perceived ineffective presence raises questions about the efficacy of hosting foreign military bases, the citizens said in an open letter. They also argued that the primary goal of these bases, ostensibly to combat terrorism in the Sahel, has not been achieved, as it has only escalated since these camps were established. It is important to clearly state that there are only dangers and no gains from such military operations. And the American operations in Niger Republic, for example, were ostensibly to preempt and uproot these guys from the Sahel region. The result has so far been quite unimpressive, if not a complete failure. It is apparent that the presence of American troops and other intelligence personnel in Niger Republic is not serving any useful purpose. This is for the simple reason that bandits, far from abating, has risen drastically since the U.S. began its operation in the region, they said. They also cautioned against compromising Nigerian sovereignty and independence for short-term strategic alliances that may have dire long-term consequences. They added that hosting foreign troops often leads to increased prices and living costs in local areas, and of course, this are proportionally affecting the lower income population. Environmentally, the construction, operation of military bases can lead to significant degradation of local environment. This includes deforestation, soil erosion, water contamination, and loss of biodiversity, which are detrimental to agricultural communities and indigenous populations. The long-term environmental damage could further hinder economic opportunities and sustainable development, they said. The presidency and the National Assembly have yet to make any public comment on the open letter. My colleague is in the house. We all know what happened in Niger Republic. Of course, almost the French colonies around about Nigeria have decided to go very military.
For me, I don't think that Bola Ahmed Tinubu should consent to their requests immediately, because whatever we have to do with France and US setting up their military base in Nigeria depends on the terms of agreement. You understand? That's what really matters. Don't forget that when we're talking about US and France, these are they have democratically elected government. So let it not be just because Niger have rejected the US and the France military base, Nigeria should align. And I'm wondering if Russia was the one coming to request to have military base in Nigeria if these so-called northerners would not have accepted. Don't forget that Russia now have a strong grip over Niger. And we must not also forget that Russia does not respect democracy. They don't practice democracy, they don't respect it. Instead, they will even support the military taking over. So it depends on who you are bringing in. Whoever you are bringing in should have your same ideology, political ideology. And apart from that, we have to understand that these countries, we have enjoyed a bunch of help from them. You don't expect to be getting huge funding from them to build infrastructure, to build schools, build hospitals, which unfortunately our political leaders have ended up looting it. And you expect that when they come to seek for this kind of understanding from Nigeria, we won't accept them. It makes no sense at all. If you feel that they are good enough to fund you guys and to have their monies in your coffers, then you should be ready, to accept whatever they come up with, because that is very, very important. But be that as it may, what is most profound as a noun is that terms and conditions must be well spelled out. You must understand it very well, such that it will not affect, the security architecture of the country, and it will also help. Their coming in should be looked upon from another perspective, and that perspective would be how it will help, to eradicate the issue of terrorism in the country. And we should look back at other countries. What were the mistakes that they made? By the time you look at the other countries in terms of agreement, what were the mistakes they made? By the time you consider it, it will help you to know the kind of terms and agreement you should enter with them. But totally rejecting it, and also for the northerners to just immediately come and say, please don't accept them, it's quite suspicious.
But don't you even think that where those places where they have been before, were there any success story recorded? Because
Exactly.
let's not just get emotional about it.
Exactly.
Let's look at facts and figures.
Yes.
If you are bringing them in, where they have been before, were there success stories? Were they
Stories.
able to truly secure that nation
Yes.
from all forms of banditry?
Uh-huh.
That way, we will now know if we are dealing with situations that will end up becoming dire, that will have dire consequences in the long term.
Yes.
We shouldn't get carried away that, okay, it's coming from a particular section of the country which you believe that may not have nice ideas. But look at it holistically, because it's going to affect everyone one way or the other.
Yes.
When it comes to the north, it will definitely move down to the south at one time or the other. Don't forget, Nigeria is rich with natural resources
Yes.
and mineral resources, just a matter of time. Because also remember what happened to DRC Congo. After a while, they discovered that after a while, these guys were even, according to the president, anyway, their military president, said they discovered that they were even inciting such insecurity, so that the security personnel of that country will not go in there, and they were able to loot their national minerals. So if you look at it holistically, as a democratically elected country and a sovereign country, we have the right now to protect it. But once we give that, allowance, and they come in, it may be very difficult really to push them out. That's just my
Yeah,
personal opinion.
that's absolutely true, because when we're talking about these guys coming in, as I did reiterate before, now the issue of the thing very important, because these so-called these American and French guys, they are in other countries of the world maintaining their base there. For example, in Germany, in Japan, in South Korea. And these countries are doing fine and developing fast without any complaints. You understand? So, for me, we should look at that and take such the agreement they had in those countries. Tinubu should bring in security experts home and abroad to come in, and let's make a very well-defined terms and conditions before we bring them. One of the most significant characteristic about it is that wherever they come in like that, you're going to notice some high level of instability in that environment. Checks have shown globally that whenever US or France military base would relocate to an environment, there's bound to be destruction of security architecture of that particular country. But then you have to take into consideration that whenever you are inheriting things, you are inheriting or you are taking or you are accepting things. For example, you get married to a wife, you are accepting the good and bad side of that woman. You understand? Don't forget that most of the infrastructures that we have in Nigeria is traceable to these countries. So when you are getting aids from them and all of that,
Was sorry to interrupt you. Is that not why Peter Obi was hampering yesterday?
yes,
That don't go getting aid from these guys. Look internally, because when you get aid, when it's time for me to ask for my favor, you shouldn't tell me no. I gave you something.
you understand? So some 2 years ago, EU had launched about 39 million euro support to Nigerian democracy. Now, one of the countries in the EU is trying to relocate its own military base down to Nigeria. And you're fighting. So, when you were collecting the billions of US dollars to build infrastructure school, which ended up being looted by our corrupt politicians, what were you expecting? Because in other countries of the world, these American bases are there, and there have been no issues.
All right, that's going to wrap it up. Let's meet in our comment section. What's your take? Do you think that the Northern Elders elite are just being unusually careful? Or do you think they just don't want anything behind their backyard, so to speak? Or do you think they believe that with the military bases from both France and US coming in, it will not augur well with their brothers who live in Niger? Don't forget that some of them would always tell you that their cousins are from Niger. One way or the other, they intermarry. So they could be looking at their in-laws in Niger and them hosting the American and French military base is like betraying their own. But let's see how it goes. What's your take? Let's interact in our comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to also to click on the notification icon each time we upload new videos. Have a nice time. God bless you. Bye.